Chapter 15 Rebuilding Shirmax. Going into bankruptcy protection was truly an ordeal for everyone at Shirmax. During those difficult months, the senior executive team was preoccupied with resolving our immediate problems and had little time to devote to the day-to-day running of the business. Still, we managed to survive. However, surviving bankruptcy protection carried with it absolutely no guarantee that we would succeed in the future, but we had an ace up our sleeve. For the 3 years before going into protection, we knew that our business concepts had become old and tired, and we had already developed new concepts for both our maternity and plus-size divisions. So when all the smoke cleared after we came out of protection, we were able to start the process of reinventing and rebuilding Shirmax immediately. We had new retail strategies and concepts to build on that were more in tune with the realities of the changing economic and social environments, and when we implemented those strategies, customers responded positively. In the early spring of 1994, when the economy started to turn around, there was a marked improvement in business. We started to receive new merchandise for spring and summer, and we had a very good season. After about a year, it was clear that we were no longer in survival mode. We had met the challenges of day-to-day survival, and we were on a roll. We were ready to move forward. We changed banks, moved to the Bank of Montreal. As part of our restructuring program, we focused on maximizing our efficiency and effectiveness in all areas of business. We invested strategically in people and technology and were driven like zealots to grow our businesses and maximize our potential in the marketplace. We were driven to create an organization that works, with the ultimate goal of maximizing shareholders' value. We focused our efforts primarily in 3 areas: reinventing our marketing concepts, recreating the Shirmax culture, and strengthening our management practices. Reinventing our marketing concepts. Reinventing the maternity business. When we first went into the maternity business under the Shirley K banner, maternity was considered a small specialty business with the emphasis on small. Even when we expanded and became a national chain, all our stores were still small in keeping with the small business thinking. By the late 80s, it was clear that our small stores and our business concept were no longer appropriate. I have already told how Howard and Philip changed our Shirley K maternity concept, which had been based on hiding the pregnancy, to the new time maternity concept of celebrating and showing the pregnancy. The strategy for rebuilding the maternity division was to replace all the Shirley K stores with larger, more modern, and customer-friendly time maternity stores, featuring more moderately priced merchandise. Reinventing the plus-size business. Here again, our plus-size retail concept was also old and tired. When we first went into the plus-size business, we were not sure of its potential and we were cautious. Our stores were very small, approximately 2,000 square feet, and we carried everything from pantyhose to cocktail dresses. We had bits and pieces of everything, but we were important in nothing. And that was the way we ran our plus-size business until the early 90s, when we built a couple of new concept test stores based on a new vision of having Additionelle become the store of choice for plus-size customers in Canada. Our new concept stores, which we called combo stores, had 7,000 square feet. Each store had 1 storefront, but the interior was separated into 2 parts, a career store and a sportswear store. When I approached our board of directors with the new store concept, I had great difficulty in getting their support. They argued that if we couldn't make 2,000 square feet work, how in the world were we expected to make 7,000 square feet work? However, I eventually managed to bring them around and get their support. We opened our first 7,000 square foot store in Place Versailles in Montreal in 1993. Customers immediately appreciated both the new store concept and the broadened merchandise assortments, and the store became the model for subsequent conversions. Once the combo stores started to pay off, we expanded the concept by adding a plus-size lingerie department in an additional 3,000 square feet, which created a triple store. Again, it was quite a task to persuade the board to approve 10,000 square feet, but as it turned out, going into plus-size lingerie was a great move. After a bumpy start, it became a very profitable part of our business. A major aspect of rebuilding the plus-size division was the conversion to 10,000 square foot triple stores and the development of merchandise and marketing concepts to support that expansion. I must mention here that the "we" I have been using in discussing the plus-size business refers to Louise Tanguay, VP Merchandising for Additionelle, and me. Louise was with me from the first day we started working together to invent our plus-size store. Louise and I strategized all the changes over the years, and it was she who implemented those changes. Unquestionably, Louise was the architect and driving force in building Additionelle into Canada's leading plus-size brand. Recreating the Shirmax culture. Before we went into protection, I had already started a couple of management development programs called Discovery with the CEO and Shirmax Management Program, Managing Up. I developed and wrote these programs and delivered them in a series of 2-day training sessions to all management staff in the company. After we came out of protection, I began broadening the scope of those programs, added to their content, and developed 2 additional programs, entrepreneurship and team building. Those 4 programs, which I describe in detail in part 2, form the foundation of the very special and empowering culture we created at Shirmax. The objectives of those programs were to get everyone's commitment to our corporate vision, values, and goals, imbue the Shirmax culture into all parts of the organization, and inspire everyone to operate at an extraordinary level. Strengthening our management practices. In order to put Shirmax on a strategic course to improve and strengthen its management practices, we acquired and installed new technologies. These quickened our response time in all aspects of our business and allowed us to become a much more effective operation. Once we completed the implementation of these 3 main strategic initiatives, reinventing our marketing concepts, recreating the Shirmax culture, and strengthening our management practices, Shirmax was positioned to become very profitable and to take on whatever challenges and opportunities presented themselves. The inventory dilemma. Every company has its own culture, and much of that culture is determined by what I call drivers. These drivers establish what everyone in the company is committed to, propel the decisions made, and therefore govern how the company operates. At Shirmax, the number 1 driver that defined the Shirmax culture was our key operating principle, a commitment to maximizing your potential. Maximizing your potential involves taking risks. The opposite to maximizing your potential is risk aversion. It is about playing it safe. And playing it safe does not give the same opportunities as a commitment to maximizing your potential. However, there is a downside as well as an upside to maximizing your potential. In a retail operation, the area where maximizing your potential can have the greatest positive or negative effect is that of inventory management. All fashion retailers struggle with a very difficult and perplexing problem when it comes to inventory, how to maximize sales during the key months of the season while minimizing the amount of stock left at the end of the season, and how much inventory is needed at all times to accomplish that. There is a formula for merchandise management that involves weeks of stock and stock turns. To maximize sales in the key months requires having enough stock during those months to meet the potential demand. However, that means being left with excess stock at the end of the season, and that merchandise has to be written off, which in turn means a direct reduction of profits. Thus, retailers face a dilemma. They must either A, maximize sales by maximizing assortments and the impact on the customer and accept the consequences of having stock left over, which has to be written off at the end of the season, or B, give up potential sales by carrying lower inventories in season in order to have little or no inventory left over at the end of the season. If a company is driven by option A, that calls for specific actions and behaviors that create a particular culture. Conversely, if a company is driven by option B, that calls for a different set of actions and behaviors that creates another culture. Retailers must therefore choose between these two strategies. Most retailers choose strategy B, giving up on maximizing sales in favor of having little or no inventory at the end of the season. I, on the other hand, always chose strategy A, to maximize sales by trying to impact the customer and accept the consequences of having leftover merchandise. I believe that on balance, option A gave me the greater opportunity to maximize customer satisfaction, sales, and profitability over the long term. I am certain that the driver I adopted, maximizing potential, came from an experience I had early in my business career that influenced the way I approached merchandising and inventory management. When we had only one store in the Wilderton shopping center, I got up one winter morning to find that we were in the midst of a blizzard, which was to last all day. I managed to get to the store and open for business. What a joke. There was no staff and there was no business. I was alone. I turned on the lights, washed the floor, and intermittently, as it piled up, I shoveled the snow away from the front door. Other than that, I stood at the door with my arms folded waiting for customers. Around 4 in the afternoon, a car plowed its way through the parking lot and stopped in front of my store. A lady, all bundled up, got out of the car and walked through the door. I need a pair of navy slacks. What size? Size 12. Let's check. Wouldn't you know, I had every size in stock except size 12. For me, that meant I had wasted my entire day. I hadn't made a single sale, and I didn't have the stock to make the only sale I could have made. I paid the rent and electricity for nothing. It was from that experience that I decided if we were going to be successful over the long term, we had to make the customer our priority. We had to have merchandise assortments to ensure we had what the customer wanted when she wanted it, or she would desert us. It was from that experience that I chose to deal with the inventory dilemma by budgeting to maximize sales in the good months and accepting the consequences of being left with too much inventory at the end of season. That was the dilemma we lived with until we eventually stumbled onto a solution that was not only profitable, it changed for the better the way we managed our business. Additional fashion outlet. For years, Louise had been asking me to open a few outlet stores where we could sell off our excess merchandise so we would not clog up the new season with our old merchandise. I always refused on the grounds that outlet stores was not a business we knew. We were value-added fashion retailers, and I was convinced that outlet was inconsistent with that image. I stuck with that decision for many years until 1995. I was put under tremendous pressure and was left with no alternative but to give in. Walter Lamont, our executive VP of operations, started to pressure me with, "Max, I think we are being very stubborn." He was being very diplomatic with the we. "I suggest we consider and open a couple of outlet stores to help us get rid of some of our excess merchandise. It is inappropriate to use expensive space to sell off old merchandise." "Walter," I responded, "as long as I am CEO of this company, we will never do that. That's inconsistent with who we are, and it's not a business we understand. We are about excellence, and outlet stores are not. It's not for us." A few months later, Walter came back to me and said, "Max, I have found a 5,000 square foot store in a great outlet environment on Taschereau Boulevard. The rent is $11 a square foot compared to $100 a square foot that we are paying in the shopping centers. I can get a 2-year lease with an 8-year option. We have enough fixtures in our warehouse to furnish the store, so it would cost us next to nothing to open the store. Let me open an additional outlet store and see if it would work for us." Walter had me boxed in. I did not want to be in that business, but I could not argue with his logic, so I conceded. He opened the store, and it was an instant success. A few months later, Walter came to me again and said, "I have found another store, 7,500 square feet in an outlet center in Laval. The rent is $9 a square foot, and again, I can get a 2-year lease and an 8-year option. We still have plenty of merchandise to fill another store. Considering what we're doing on Taschereau, we've got to open this one too." I approved the second store, and it was even more successful than the first. Timing is everything. Just around this time, a new retail concept was developing. Power malls, also known as outlet malls, were being built across Canada. The rents were not as low as $9 or $10 gross. They were $20, which was still a long way from the $100 we were paying in regular malls. Based on the success of our first 2 outlet stores and the fact that we still had a lot of merchandise being carried over from season to season in our regular Additionelle stores, we started opening outlet stores in power malls to sell that merchandise at discount prices. The stores were called Additionelle Fashion Outlet, and that division was successful from day one. Within 2.5 years, we had 40 outlet stores generating more than $60 million in revenues. The outlet division attracted a different customer who really appreciated the additional merchandise at discount prices. Not only was the outlet division a viable and profitable venture on its own, it resolved Additionelle's inventory dilemma. Having the outlet stores to sell off our excess merchandise was a huge benefit for the Additionelle division and made that division more profitable. It allowed Additionelle to maximize its assortments in season and still keep the merchandise clean, fresh, and new by moving the excess merchandise to the outlet division, where we got another kick at the can with the same merchandise. As the outlet division grew, there was not enough merchandise from Additionelle to support those stores, so we put another buying team for the outlet division headed by a merchandise manager, Jamie Lee Goulikos, who developed and bought merchandise at discount prices to supplement our own from Additionelle, thus providing our customers with an excellent assortment. The combination of having those 2 divisions working together and supporting each other was a great formula that resolved our inventory dilemma. It was having our cake and eating it too. It is noteworthy that the additional outlet division became the catalyst for the eventual sale of Shirmax. Our outlet division was in direct competition with Pennington's, one of Reitman's premier divisions at the time, and we were a thorn in their side. Reitman saw the opportunity to own and control the competition, and I believe that was a key consideration in Reitman's decision to acquire Shirmax. So developing the outlet division, which I had so resisted, turned out to be a stroke of great good fortune. The outlet division was the goose that laid the golden egg. Once again, I credit my guardian angel for manipulating events and circumstances to force me to change my decision and go into the outlet business.